टेररिस्ट घुसा है तो हम छुप गए।
हमें नहीं पता था कि वो कश्मीर हमारे लिए इतना ज़्यादा ख़राब हो जाएगा। हम तो अपने द वे द गवर्नमेंट यूज्ड टू से कि कश्मीर अब सेफ है, 370 हट चुका है, कश्मीर में जाते हैं लोग, कश्मीर में घूम।
On April 22, 2025, what should have been a peaceful day for tourists in Baisaran Valley in Pahalgam turned into a nightmare. A brutal terrorist attack in Indian-administered Jammu and Kashmir claimed the lives of 26 innocent civilians. A special tribute to the victims and a silence of 5 seconds before we start our video. We all know it wasn't just an act of terror. It was a massive security failure. And it got me thinking, how prepared is India, the 5th largest economy in the world, to protect its people? I mean, this is not the first time the civilians are targeted in India. We had the 26/11 attack, Pulwama attack, Uri attack, Akshardham attacks, and many more. In this video, we'll go deep to analyze the military and defense preparedness of India, the 5th largest economy in the world. Because in order to become a true superpower, India first should become a secure power and a secure country. Alright, let's start with some numbers first. According to the latest Global Terrorism Index 2024, published by the Institute for Economics and Peace, India ranks 14th globally in terms of the impact of terrorism. We are grouped alongside some of the world's most terror-affected regions like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Nigeria, and Syria. In fact, countries like China, our major geopolitical rival, are far better placed, ranking 73rd with much lower terrorism impact. This tells us one thing very clearly. While India might be on its way to becoming an economic giant, our internal security vulnerabilities still mirror those of conflict-ridden nations like Pakistan and Afghanistan. Here's a simple comparison that says it all. India, the world's 5th largest economy, ranks 14th in terrorism impact, while our competitors, China and USA, are much better placed at ranks 73rd and 30th respectively. Just see this table. I dug deeper and uncovered some startling facts. According to the South Asia Terrorism Portal, which tracks terrorism-related activities across South Asian countries, India actually reported a higher number of terrorist-related incidents in 2024 than even Pakistan and Afghanistan. Considering this alarming fact that India ranks 14th in the Global Terrorism Index and witnessed more terrorist-related activities than even Pakistan and Afghanistan, one thing becomes crystal clear, and this is that India needs to work more on its defense and military preparedness. Now, the real question again is how prepared India is in terms of its defense and military. To evaluate this, I'm going to compare India's defense strength with the top major economies of the world. So as you can see in this graph, over the last decade, India's defense spending has largely hovered between 2.4% and 2.8% of its GDP. In fact, if you look closely, except for a temporary spike in 2020, thanks to COVID uncertainties and the growing tensions with China, the trend has remained flat. So despite the escalating threats from neighboring countries and despite the new age security concerns like cyber and drone attacks, there has been no significant budget surge to match these trends. So if we consider a win or loss verdict for India, in terms of the defense budget, it is a loss for India because India's defense is not aggressive enough to match the risk landscape that it faces. Now let's see how India's defense compares to other top economies. So check this graph. It lists the budget countries allocate in defense for maintenance, procurement, support and pensions. India ranks 4th globally in total defense budget allocation. It is just behind USA, China and Russia. But here's the catch. Compared to the USA, India's defense budget is just about 8% of what America spends. And compared to China, we are spending roughly 28% of their total. USA's and China's military spending dwarfs everyone else's, and that gap is important to note. First of all, it's impressive that India, a developing economy, has made it into the global top 5 in terms of the defense spending. But the context matters here. First is we are the largest population on earth. And second is that we have one of the largest land borders to protect. We also face 2 hostile neighbors and internal security challenges. If we want to really do well, our real comparison benchmark should be China, a country which is similar in size and population to India. And we also are competing against China, right? We must aim to match China's defense capabilities and must work towards scaling our defense budget significantly over the next 5 or 10 years. So again, if we go for a win or loss verdict for the India's defense budget in comparison to top other economies in the world, it's a partial win for India because India's defense budget ranks high globally, a proud achievement for a developing country, but compared to the giants like USA, China, we are up against. There's still a long road ahead. And let's not forget, terrorist activities have not stopped. When we talk about the India's defense preparedness, intelligence gathering and coordination form the bedrock of the national security. So this is where we talk about the RAW and the Intelligence Bureau, the IB. One thing to note here is that India's intelligence framework is quite fragmented. Why do I say so? See, India's intelligence framework is primarily divided between 2 major bodies. The Intelligence Bureau or the IB for Internal Security and Intelligence, and the Research and Analysis Wing, the RAW, for External Security and External Intelligence. But that's just scratching the surface. In fact, there are over 14 different intelligence agencies, each with varying and sometimes overlapping responsibilities in India. These units were formed as we emerged out of different wars and conflicts, like the 1962 war with China, the 1999 war with Pakistan, or for that matter, the 1965 war with Pakistan. Any failure in these conflicts triggered a reactive institution building without a master blueprint. For example, the 1962 conflict with China, India created the Directorate General of Security, DGS, which works under the IB. So there are several instances of these institution building out of these conflicts and wars, which I have detailed in my newsletter, the link of which is in the comment section. If you want, you can check it out. Now, experts have long recommended deeper reforms like the National Security Strategy. As a result of having multiple agencies in the India's intelligence framework, it results in each agency working in silos, which leads to duplication, delays, and missed warnings. For instance, let's take the current Pahalgam attack. When we rewind the facts, Pahalgam and the Anantnag region have long been flagged as high-risk, terror-prone areas. Multiple security reports dating back months had indicated growing militant presence and cross-border infiltration attempts near South Kashmir. Intelligence inputs were shared highlighting potential threats to tourist hotspots and civilian gatherings. However, there were no heavy deployment of army troops, no layered surveillance using drones, electronic monitoring or checkpoints, and no evacuation advisories issued to limit the tourist inflow in these peak seasons. Instead, a handful of local police units were left to safeguard an entire valley. When the attack finally happened, it wasn't because there were no intelligence. It was because the intelligence was fragmented, the risk was underestimated, and the response was disjointed, much like the old tragedies of 26/11 or the Pulwama or the Uri. The dots were there, but no one joined them. You can read a full report in my newsletter, the link of which is in the comment section. Now let's compare our intelligence framework with those of other major economies. When we shift our focus to other major economies in the world, we find that they follow a centralized intelligence framework. Unlike India's fragmented and somewhat overlapping intelligence framework with over 14 agencies or units, China operates a far more centralized, cohesive, and centrally controlled intelligence apparatus. At the core of China's intelligence operations lies the Ministry of State Security, often called the Chinese CIA. The MSS is tasked with both domestic surveillance and international intelligence gathering under one roof. And when we look at other major global economic powers, this pattern is crystal clear that all of them follow a centralized intelligence framework. They have a central national security agency. In the United States, for example, it's their National Security Agency, NSA, and the Director of National Intelligence that oversee the coordination between the CIA, FBI, NSA, and all other military intelligence bodies. In the United Kingdom, the intelligence services like MI5 for domestic security and MI6 for foreign intelligence works closely under the direction of the Joint Intelligence Committee, ensuring coordination and a unified strategy. Similar centralized structures are seen in Russia also. However, as I said, India's intelligence framework remains fragmented. We have the Intelligence Bureau for internal threats, the Research and Analysis Wing or for external threats, Defense Intelligence Agency or the DIA for military intelligence, and several other technical and specialized agencies like the NTRO. The Pahalgam attack is not just a brutal act of terror. It's a story of the system failure where decentralized intelligence and poor strategic response costed innocent lives. And unless we fix this, we leave ourselves vulnerable again and again. While it's true that India faces serious challenges in its intelligence framework and the defense preparedness, we must also recognize the strengths we have built over decades. India today ranks 4th in global defense spending, a remarkable feat for a developing economy. Our Indian armed forces are among the most battle-hardened and respected soldiers in the world, praised globally for their bravery, discipline, and resilience. From peacekeeping missions to border security, the Indian soldier continues to stand as an unbreakable shield for the nation. But if we truly aspire to become a superpower, a safe, prosperous India for the next generation, then matching bravery with modern strategy and technology, smart spending, centralized intelligence, and cutting-edge technology is the need of the hour. And this is just the beginning. In the next video, if you support, we'll go even deeper into India's cybersecurity landscape, modernization drive, defense technology, and the global alliances. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share this conversation. Thank you.